Welcome back in today's session. With us is CA John Haider, who is a chartered accountant, graduate, postgraduate, and has worked in different profiles across last 7 years, I guess, 6 or 7 years, including articleship. It will be, even more. As I can see from his LinkedIn profile, he has worked in SNB, Sani Natarajan, which is a good firm. So welcome, John, to the show, and just let us know about brief about, in what profiles you have worked in past.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Yogesh, for providing me this opportunity. So starting with me, I am qualified as chartered accountant in May 2016. I've been into the campus placement for my first role in Vedanta Resources PLC. And for my first role is in marketing finance team for around 6 months. And then basically I moved to financial reporting and the FP&A profile, and also for a SPOC of internal audit and the SOX audit for the entity. Post that, I moved to Siemens as a commercial project manager, where I was going through basically looking after various projects, 20 to 30 projects in my profile. Then basically I have been given another opportunity after a year in Siemens, that was heading a plant finance role in Aurangabad for their factory. And then basically I recently joined Dr. Reddy also as a team lead central controlling. So that's I think a brief about my role, Yogesh.
Yeah, that's great, John. So one of the profile which sounds interesting to me is commercial project manager or product manager. What was that, which you worked in Siemens?
Yeah. So basically, when I moved from Vedanta to Siemens, so the accounting methodologies, everything differs in a project-based organization versus the product-based organization. So in product-based organization, basically there is no role called commercial project manager because there are no projects. Everything is a product-based. But when you move to a company which runs on a project, which takes project, executes, and finishes, then there is a role which is called commercial project manager. So how is it? There are various projects in which we tender, or basically which we got from the Indian Railways or basically from other entities, in which there are various milestones involved, and accordingly accounting need to be happened accordingly. Suppose so there are some milestones, you can recognize 30% of revenue basis some milestone, and another 30% revenue basis of some milestone. So there is a percentage of completion method which will be applied to those. So in this, I was basically looking after how the project performing, whether we are profitable or not, and the project has to be maintained the SAP on the WBS levels. So we break the project into the milestones level to the WBS. So suppose there is one installation commissioning WBS, once there's a product is ready, there is another milestone. So that has to be break down into the various WBS levels, and then basically the accounting happens. So I was total responsible whether project is performing, and if the project is in loss, whether we have to make provisions for all the losses that are occurring, and what are the corrective actions we can take if the cost is going upward. And also for the controlling those projects, so we have around 20 to 30 projects which I was only taking care for the locomotive business. So that was basically role of a commercial project manager, and simultaneously the activities related to the controlling, be it the GR waiver or export or import, probably related to that projects only. So that roles comes after the commercial project manager.
Correct, got it. So basically it's all about the finance aspect only. So I thought that it will be a different profile. So even if you do not, achieve the milestone, there are certain conditions which put penalty on the organization as well.
Right.
And for the project as well, you can also, get the financing done from the bank. And from the bank side, I know that these are, some of the organizations which, take up certain projects. They require finances as well. We also, fund that. So in that way, I was aware of those, project completion and all those, sheets you prepare and you track the status, track the milestone. But more or less, it was on the accounting side itself. So from starting to end, you are working in the accounting and finance domain only. Is that right?
Yeah. So that is right. And I think one basic difference which I noticed also earlier is while you're in the commercial project manager role, you are not limited to your accounting and finance only. So you have to also assess the risk that a project. I would say that you will be having around 450-page tender documents, which is coming from the Indian Railways, and we have to go by each clauses to know that the is there and what kind of risk can arise out of that. And when also you have to bid, then you have to also go into the various risks that will gives you I will say expects other than the finance. You have to dig into the various legal aspects as well. Indian Contract Act, Limitations Act, and all. So the various legal challenges also there which you need to look around it.
So what I think is now this profile sounds interesting. So if you can brief us about, how your day looks like as a commercial project manager, what you do on daily basis in that profile. So that will be helpful to the audience.
Absolutely. Starting from a day, I think first for an every morning we have to look upon whether there are new tenders coming up on the Indian Railway IDPS portal, which is there usually for tendering, which they use. And if there are new tender comes, so there is a bid team also, and who basically circulates the tender conditions and the tender clauses and all. And once this comes to us, we have to go through all the tender conditions, whatever the maybe the payment related conditions, be it the bank guarantees related conditions, and be it the other legal conditions. How what it says about the force major clauses. How about the limitation of act? How what will be there if government defaults? What will be if we defaults in the performance of the contract? So that kind of risk we have to see, and then basically we have to maintain a risk register in which we note down all these risks, and basis the contract value, we have to initiate a basically LOA approvals, which goes still up to the Germany headquarters. If there is some major risk coming up, and suppose in one of the contracts, I remember the Indian government is asking to share intellectual property rights or basically IPRs for the locomotive. So that seen as a major risk because we can't share as a Siemens because the know-how to the Indian government. So that goes straight up to the German headquarters. We have to talk to the German legal team and then basically sort how the things have gone, and whether we can go ahead for sharing the intellectual property rights. So usually in cases when the product is mature, we usually share, but if the product is new, technology is new, there are always hindrances in sharing the technologies. That's the first part. So first we look upon whether there are new tenders coming upon, and if there are new tenders, preparing those risk registered in the presentation to the board. And further, then we have to see, on a daily basis, the task related to the project profitability. So in every weekly basis, there used to be review happened with the senior management regarding the project profitability, whatever we planned accordingly, what the actual is coming. We used to prepare a PSR sheet, which is called project status review sheet. Accordingly, that sheet explains all the risk, all the upcoming costs which are coming, and what are the corrective actions needed to be taken. So this goes in around, and then there are various controlling activities which the team under me is handling. But we have to take stock of what are things going on. Suppose there are some GR waiver cases in which you send some goods on a testing basis to export without any, I would say, without any value, or because that's or without any duty. So that's the time limit of 6 months and all. So if that goods doesn't come back within 6 months, you have to pay due to the government. So that's a control we used to have implement, that the goods has to be come back within the 6 months. So normally that the GR waiver rule, and then basically what are the export duties or basically export benefits we have to recognize in our books of account. So these usually and 4 to 5 hours goes to the controlling, and then basically P&L management. I would say goes so for locomotive go to business, whatever the profit we have planned for the month, we will be able to use, or we were able to use it to the SAP, that whatever the actual is coming, and what are the further action items we need to do in order to achieve the monthly targets. So that usually on a day goes like for a commercial project management role.
So two subsequent questions. You talked about LOA. LOA is a letter of authorization, but that is issued by the government authority. Is that right?
No, it's limits of approval. So
Achha.
LOA is limits of approval, and how it works is in Siemens. There are three category of projects, which is A category, B category, and C category projects. So accordingly, category wise, the approval levels are defined. So suppose the contract value having 100 crore values, for an example. So it goes up to the Indian management only. Indian CEOs and CFOs can approve that project, and if it goes beyond 100 crore, it will go to Germany and all. So these are the levels that defined internally.
Correct. So that was my first question. Second one, talking about the intellectual property rights. So if you are delivering a certain, contract for the government and other organizations, so why would they require you to share the IPR, and for what? I mean, you are doing a project. IPR is the intangible assets. So why would they require it? They need the project to
So
be done,
in
right?
Yeah. So in some cases, Yogesh, what happens is government wants that the know-how and the rights. It should not be like that. Once you deliver that product, in that you will be or Indian Railways will be dependent on the Siemens or Alstom for their services, for their maintenance, and for the other future activities. And somehow if that technology leaks also from the Indian Railways to the suppose to other organization, then also Siemens can claim damages from the Indian Railways that the know-how is leaked. But in some of the cases, Indian Railway want full independence. That once you deliver the product to me, you deliver know-how, and then basically in the future, if I want it to develop on it my own, so that I can develop it and I can reduce cost to the some extent.
So is that allowed? It is not for the company's benefit. So how would you handle that situation? I mean, IPR passes
So
through Indian Railways or not?
no, so in some cases, what happens is when the product is at a maturity stage, or I would say end of life cycle stage. So I would give an example. So you used to hear, there are two concepts of locomotive. One is e-locomotive and one is a diesel locomotives. So earlier, the railway basically, which is the engine, used to run on diesels, and then basically government runs an initiative and they converts into the e-locomotive. So the e-locomotive concept is still new and it is evolving, and I think believe you have heard in the news that Siemens has also world won the largest order in railway industry of around 20,000 crore for 9,000 HP locomotives. So that technology is still emerging and that's still on a growing stage. But diesel locomotive is gone down. So if Indian Railway wants a know-how for a diesel locomotive or IPR for a diesel locomotive, then it can be transferred because it is for no use for future for us. But for e-locomotives, obviously there will be challenges and sharing that. Right.
Great, Heather. So thanks for providing this clarity. Now, coming on to the qualification which is required to join as a commercial project manager, like what kind of people you have seen there? Are they all CAs or from the other field as well? So can you highlight that?
Yeah. So I would still say the CA has a added benefit for it, but what I've seen is 50% of the commercial project manager I have seen that are chartered accountants, but 50% are not. So they are from the background from the they have done graduation from a very good university and then they have done MBAs and then basically have joined on this role. So I would say, but the kind of experience. So when I joined as a commercial project manager, I was around having 3.5 years of experience. But when they joined a commercial project manager, they have around 6 or 7 or more 8 years of experience. So that gives an edge. I would still say if you're a chartered accountant, you know the finance in and all out, and you know the various implications of various things. So the kind of experience, so it gives an edge. But other professions are equally suitable for also that role.
So more or less, you have seen the graduates, MBAs, and the CAs. These are
Yeah,
particularly three of the qualifications, almost covering 90%
right.
of the profile roles. Okay, that's great. Now let's come on to the skills. Let forget about the qualification. A person
Mhm.
is eligible. Organization is ready to hire. What they see in the candidate in terms of the skills, provided degree is not the hindrance.
Yeah. So first, I think first they should know the SAP. SAP is basically it's widely used across all organizations, and in SAP there are also various modules. One is SD module, one is FI module, and one is MM module. So if you have an in-depth knowledge of all these modules, and if you can also upskill yourself, if you know the basic, and if you can upskill yourself with these modules, because everything, the controlling aspect, the accounting and the other legal aspect, everything is controlled through SAP. So in SAP also, when I have known SAP from the earlier organization when I joined my first job in Vedanta. So SAP is the skill which everyone should have. I think it is not related to any degree because I have not worked in the SAP before my first job. So after my first job in Vedanta, I learned to work in SAP. So that is a very foremost skill. And second, I would say the PowerPoint presentations and the Excel skills that are very much important. And there are many formulas now. Right now, I think there are many tools also available in PowerPoint, like ThinkCell is there. In Excel, the Power BI is taking care of the many dashboards and all. So these skills are foremost required for doing that role.
Okay, great. Now coming on to the hierarchy structure, like from what position a candidate starts up to what position a candidate can reach after 10, 15, 20 years of experience, how the hierarchy looks like in a commercial project management role.
So is it this is like that once you join basically so if you want to start in a commercial project manager career or basically in that level path, so there is a first level as a deputy commercial project manager, which if you're having a 2 to 3 years experience, that you can join as a deputy commercial project manager. And then you basically, after a gaining of a 1 or 2 years of experience in that role, you can join as a commercial project manager. After doing that role for around 3 to 4 years, you have enough experience of doing the projects and executing the projects. So there are two lines open. One is going into the bid phase, and one is going into the execution phase. So in the bid phase, if you go, so you can go up to the commercial bid director's role, and in which you will be having the power whether to say yes or no to go ahead to the project, which is assigned some authority to that project. And once you were a commercial bid director, you can also then head the bid division of the BU. So there is one mobility BU, and then one is the railway infrastructure BU, and one is there healthcare BU. So you can also head that segment. While going to the execution phase, you can go first as a commercial project execution head, in which you will be handling the the projects which are related to your BU, which is related to the other BU as well. And then basically you can handle any of on any of their plant finance head, basically, in which you will be handling or you'll be heading the finance for whole of function. So because the execution part as well, so you can handle that role as well. And then basically you go to the to the finance controller role and to the CFO role in coming 10 to 15 years. That's how the path is.
Great. Now coming on to the most interesting part for which the audience will be waiting up to watching this video till now. So they would be interested to know at least the salary range from where a person can start and up to what level that person can go. So how much the variation is, like what's the beginning salary in this role and what's the maximum salary in this role?
So I would still say there are much variations, and usually in an industry like this, in the commercial project role, the CTC would range around I would say 12 LPA to 30 LPA. So that is the range bracket, and that totally depends on how much experience, how much valuation you can bring into the organization, and what is your also previous CTC. That also plays a major role, because mostly on that basis your hike is offered. But if you're able to negotiate better, obviously you will be given a good CTC. So that is range of that role.
So when you talk about 30 LPA, so that is for the head of that bidding and director level.
No. On a commercial project manager level also, there is a CTC which is being offered at a 30 LPA. Depends on which project you are executing. Suppose there is a project which is of 1,500 crores or 2,000 crores, or maybe 10,000 crores, and you're handling that project. So the CTC might vary. And if you're handling a project that's the worth of 100 crore, that your CTC might vary on that.
And at the beginner's role, like deputy commercial manager, a person can start at 12 LPA. If he's a CA,
Yes.
MBA, or any other postgraduate and having 2-3 years of experience, right? Now, the maximum package of a director could be a number or any range for that?
I would say around 60 LPA.
60 LPA. So after 10-15 years of experience, a person can see himself earning 60 LPA in this particular role. Correct. That's really great. So last question is like, what kind of final advice you want to give to the audience, those who are interested to join this profile, and who should not join this profile? Now, what's your take on this? And one more important question is, if a person joins this role, what are the more options available to shift to a different role? What kind of those opportunities available for that individual? So these are my two questions.
Yeah. So answering to your first question, so I would still say, there are many aspects in the industry. I would say that I have seen, product-based organization, project-based organizations, and the organization. So if you want to have your diversity in your career, means you want to learn new things, and you will be seen as, check of all. And then basically you should try this role as a commercial project manager for 2 to 3 years, and then basically move on to some role which are more common to the industry, like plant finance head, or basically the BU finance controller, of a role of a kind of thing. But if you want to expertise in a particular thing, and if you want to stay in a project based organization for a longer period, then you should join basically this role, and then basically have that career path in that organization for for a very long period of time. Usually there are only, I would say, few companies. I still, there is a Medha, and there is an Elstorm is there, and there is a Siemens is there, which are taking care of these projects. So if you want to have a plan to stay in a organization for a longer period of time, these organization will give you very good perks and abilities. Then basically you should, this role is a perfect fit for you to start on these organizations. So this is the answer for the first question. And for the second question, I think, Yogesh, can you repeat just the second question?
I think first I talked about, like, I asked about, like, for what type of candidate this role is. And second question was
Yeah.
basically what all profiles, are available if a person works a couple of years as a commercial project manager, in which other profiles that person can move. Like, for example, a person in auditing can move into, different profiles like finance, FP&A, or maybe different profiles can move into. For a commercial project manager, that person can move into how many profiles as far as your knowledge is concerned? Because the more profiles it opens for a candidate, the more lucrative this role becomes, right?
Right. So I would still say, Yogesh, that if you are having a career path related to the diversity, so you would have this role on your career for 2 to 3 years, and then you can move either to the plant finance head roles, either to the BU controller role, either to the BU, then obviously the BU CFO's role, for a less sprint base, and basically then have that career path. And if you're going into the, after that commercial project manager, if you're going into the same organization for plant finance role, that is similar across all the organization, you can easily move to the other industries as well. I'll take my example. I have moved to the Dr. Reddy as a central controlling role, that would be leading team here for a central controlling function, and that would not be a basically hindrance, and that the previous profile adds advantage to it, because whatever the kind of exposure I had. And then basically for around, I would say, if, after doing 2 to 3 years of that role, leading a team, so, first you learn that role, you add that value to that role, and once you have to lead basically a team of 4 or 5 people, and then basically your leadership journey starts from there. So first 2 to 3 years is a very base from these things, and then basically after 3 to 4 years, while you're in the core into that role, then the leadership journey starts from around after 6 to 7 years of experience. So I would say many roles are open, be it and in other industries as well, be it in the pharmaceutical, be it the automobile, or be it in the industrial automation roles.
Exactly. And once you move into a leadership role, then you are a leader. You can, work in a diversified segment as a
Yeah,
leader, as a manager. So thank you very much, John, for coming here. I wish you don't mind if we publish it on our YouTube channel. Boost my career.
yeah,
Thank you so
that will
much.
be
Thanks a lot
okay.
for your time, John.
Okay, thank you.